Okay, in this video I'm going to be tinting my brake lamps as well as the rear backup lens that you see here, this lens piece here. And I'll go over the details as far as, why you'd want to do that and so on. But first, I'm actually going to be doing the removal of the brake lens. And I'm actually going to be doing the headlamps as well. So we'll do that in a few minutes here. This is a 2008 Grand Prix GXP, and it's actually pretty simple to get these out. Now, I have aftermarket LED brake lamps, so you may not, and the process is actually identical. So let's go ahead and get this started. First of all, obviously, you need to get your hood up. And it's pretty easy to get to. If you have a cargo net, you can go ahead and get that removed, and then you've got this cargo net screw that you can easily just twist it right off here. And then there's this push button piece here. This is just like a I don't know what exactly it's called, but anyway, you can twist it and then you can pull out the rest of the way. It should come right out just like that. That will release this trim piece. Now, it says in the manual that you have to remove this sill plate, but I'm not going to do that. Basically, what I need to get access to is underneath this cloth piece. I don't know if you can see that back there, but there's actually a plastic like nut that's back there that needs to be turned counterclockwise, which will release the tail light assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and get that released, and then I'll show you what's coming next. Okay, so I have both of these out. As you can see, this is what they look like. There's two of them. One's at the very top. They're kind of hard to get to, but I just basically pulled back on this piece, pulled back on this carpet piece, and then just reached up in here and grabbed it. Now, if they do happen to fall when you're unscrewing them, don't worry, they're just going to end up underneath your carpet right here. So you don't have to worry about them getting stuck inside the car, the bumper, or anything else like that. So that will then release the brake lamp, just like that. And again, I have an aftermarket brake assembly, so yours may be a bit different, but essentially you just twist these two bulbs counterclockwise. These aren't actually bulbs, as you can see here. It's actually LEDs. So this circuitry, for me, I'm just going to have to actually unplug it from this point here. But if you did have the standard lamps, you would just unscrew the bulbs, and then you would take the whole assembly with you. So for me, it's a little easier, actually. Okay, with the assembly out, you basically just repeat the same process for the other side. They're really pretty easy to get out. Just make sure you don't lose the nuts that go with it. So once you get the other one out, you can go ahead and bring it inside. Now, because I'm tinting these, you could in fact, tape this outer side here, but I prefer it just seems easier just to get them inside, get them out on my balcony, and paint them there rather than have to worry about trying to tape all this up or get it exactly right. So that's essentially what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same for the other side. Okay, so here's the lens. Now, this is an aftermarket LED tail lamp. But the same process would apply if you had a standard stock tail lamp. Before we begin tinting, if your lens is actually really wore and it's faded, you could in fact use toothpaste, regular old toothpaste, to clean it up. It's not going to work as well as a professional, job with sandpaper and all this other stuff, but it does a really good job of taking out most of the oxidization you may have, and minor scratches. So I actually did that in two of my videos previously, my headlamps as well as my backup lens. So I'll leave a link in the description of the video for those if you're interested to find out how to use toothpaste to clean these up. But these are almost brand new, so I don't need to do that. These look great. But before we even start to tint, we actually have to wash these and make sure they're really clean. So I'm just using dish soap and a rag, and I'm just gonna wipe them down really good, get all the dirt and whatever else may be on these things. I can see some dirt here that's worked its way in. Get them nice and clean, because when you're tinting these, the paint would actually stick to the dirt, and that's gonna look really stupid. So you want to make sure you start with a clean surface. Okay, and then you just dry them down really well, just using a towel. Dry things down. Okay, the lens is nice and clean surface, just soap and water, just made it real clean. Before we begin to actually make the tint or apply the tint, you need to be aware of your local laws, your county, your state, whatever, regarding tint. And there's actually certain laws that say that you have to be able to see the reflections, such as the red reflectors, and be able to see the light actually go through here, because tint will actually reduce the output of the lens slightly, and it all depends on how many coats you decide to put on. If you put just 2-3 coats of the tint on there, you're probably not going to have any problems. You're not even going to notice any difference, and it'll be a nice smoky color. If you put more coats on there to really black it out, you're going to get less light. And there's actually laws pertaining to, it has to be red or whatever, so it may not be legal in your area. So consult your local laws to make sure that you're in fact okay to be able to do this. So be aware of that. So now we're going to go ahead and get the lens outside, and we're going to go ahead and apply the tint. Okay, I've got the tail lamps up in a position that gives me easy access to all the sides, and what I'm going to be using is this is Rust-Oleum lens tint, and it's a spray-on lens tint. And you could, in fact, they make kits that are similar to window tint. They're basically pieces that are cut, and you apply them to the rear lens yourself. I find it to be easier and more customizable to actually use the lens tint spray-on stuff, because then you can get it exactly how you want it as far as the darkness is concerned. So obviously you want to do this outside, and what I like to do, when it's been shaken up, is I like to actually about 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches above, and I like to go across, and I just use nice even strokes, basically, kind of like what when you're painting. And you don't want to get too close, because then you're going to blotch it up, and you don't want to spray too much, because then it's going to look really ridiculous. So basically just start at the top, and alright, that's one coat. I'm actually going to be doing 3 coats total. I'm going to let that sit for a couple of hours and dry. I'm going to apply another coat. After that's dried, apply a 3rd coat, let it dry overnight, and I should be finished. But you can already see it does look a little darker. But again, I'm not going for a completely blacked out look. I'm going for more of a smoke look. So I'll show you what they look like when they're done. Okay, I've completed the tail lamps. All coats are on, and as you can see here, you can still see through it. It's not a completely black look, and this is what I wanted. I wanted more of a kind of a smoky look to it. I didn't want to completely black it out. So you can see this on camera looks like it's actually imperfection, but it actually looks pretty cool from a distance. So this is the finished product, and we'll just get these back on the car, and then I'll show you what they look like when they're lit up. So for those of you who don't have the aftermarket brake lamps, you may be thinking, okay, well, you know, the next best thing, I can just replace my backup bulbs with LEDs, make them really bright. That's good in theory. However, the body control module actually senses when there is a brake light out or a turn signal out. So what ends up happening is when you have an LED that you use to replace an incandescent bulb, it's actually requiring less energy to power that LED. So what happens is the body control module actually believes that you have a burnt out bulb. The body control module actually believes that you have a burnt out bulb, so it will flash your turn signal really fast when you're turning. So what you need to do is you need to actually modify it, and I'm not going to put up a tutorial on that because I don't have all the information, and I've already got this LED aftermarket tail lamp, which essentially has all of the necessary equipment right here to allow the computer to still believe that the bulbs are flashing fine and for it to have the LED properties. So this was an all-in-one unit. I actually did not install this. It actually came with my car when I bought it back almost a year ago. So you know, just keep that in mind. For those of you who are looking to upgrade your tail lamps to LEDs, make sure that you have the proper equipment to do so. And there's plenty of literature online on different Grand Prix forums and car forums and so on that will tell you exactly what you need to do in order to make that happen. So I already have the aftermarket LED tail lamps, and so I don't need any special equipment. It just basically hooks right up to the harness and works just fine. So just keep that in mind, and my cat loves to be on camera. Okay, and here is the finished product, and I think it actually looks pretty cool. I'm going to wash these, so I'm going to take this to the car wash, but they are really smoked out, not completely black, which is exactly what I was going for. Yeah, I think they look pretty good. I've got everything all together. I'm going to go ahead and start the car up so you can see the daytime, what they look like with the lamps on. Okay, this is a daytime shot. This is with the running lamps or the tail lamps on. This is not the brake lamps that are actually on. I'll get you a shot of that at night, but you can see that they are just as bright as they were before. So someone who is coming up behind me is going to see these lights. You can see just how bright they are. And then the brake lights are even brighter than these. This is half illumination right now. This is how they're set up. Then when you hit your brakes, they double the illumination. So it'll look even brighter when the brakes are hit. So you know, I don't have to worry about somebody running into my car because they don't see my brake lights. So it turned out really, really well. I'm really happy with the results. I'll get you a night shot next so you can see what they look like at night.